I've lived in Sacramento my entire life, and let me tell you, the cost of living here has changed dramatically. Over the years, I've seen housing prices skyrocket, I've seen energy bills surge, and I've seen the hidden cost add up. So if you're somebody who's thinking about moving here, you probably have no idea what to expect. So in today's video, we're gonna be breaking down the real cost of living in Sacramento. No sugarcoating, no vague numbers, just real bills, real expenses, and real strategies to help you save money. In today's video, you're gonna learn how my electricity bill went from $700 all the way down to $300, what hidden fees and unexpected expenses that you need to prepare for, and how you can save thousands on your property taxes and homeowners insurance. So if you're planning on making the move to Sacramento or you already live here, this video is gonna help you plan your budget, avoid costly mistakes, and make the most out of your money in Sacramento. So let's jump into it. Now, first up, what I want to cover is going to be your power bills. This is one of the biggest monthly expenses that most people don't anticipate. So if you're new to Sacramento, or even if you've lived here, you might not realize how much rates vary depending on where you live. In the greater Sacramento area, you're going to have one of two choices. You're either going to have SMUD or you're gonna have PG&E, but there is one special unicorn that I'm gonna touch on at the very end of this section. Now, all of Sacramento County is going to be SMUD, which is going to be Sacramento Municipality Utility District. Now, while the rest of Northern California is going to be PG&E. Now, typically some of the pros to SMUD is going to be lower rates and you're gonna have a more affordable monthly utility bill. Now, the downside to PG&E is you're gonna have higher rates, you're gonna have unpredictable pricing, and you're gonna have occasional shutoffs during wildfire season, especially if you're in the foothills like Auburn or Placerville. Now, I've been here a long time and I was still caught off guard by one of my summer energy bills. One summer, I just wasn't paying attention to my electricity bill. We had that AC set low, and it was hot, and boom, $700 bill. Sacramento summers can be brutal with over 40 plus days of 100+ degree temperatures for weeks at a time. So if you're running your AC all day, your bill is gonna skyrocket. But here's a couple of tips of how I was able to cut my bill in half and get it around that $250 to $350 range. Now, the first thing that I would recommend doing is putting solar panels on your home. These can be a great long-term investment, especially if you choose to do one of the two options like a lease or a PPA. So when I was working at Solar City, right after I got that $700 utility bill, I had Solar City install some solar panels on my home, and that bill the very next month that it was installed went from about a $700 utility bill, and I never got a utility bill that was above $250 to $300 at worst. And that was one of their programs where I wasn't owning the panels. So those programs are really good, especially if you don't need that federal tax credit. You can definitely get a lower utility bill by having one of these third-party companies install solar and offsetting as much of your electricity as possible, especially if you don't have any trees or anything that overhangs the sunshine that hits your roof. Now, the next thing I would recommend doing is installing a smart thermostat. These can be really cool. You can get ones like Nest, you can get ones by Honeywell or Ecobee, but the cool thing is some of these thermostats will actually track your Bluetooth location. They can start cooling the home off as you're headed home from work, or you can set it via Wi-Fi through an app on your phone. Now, the third thing that I would recommend doing is consider installing a whole house fan, especially since Sacramento has some of the most beautiful weather during the spring and fall months. You can actually extend the time that you don't run your AC in the summertime by having a whole house fan installed, running that in the early morning when it's cool, sucking in all the cool air from the outside, pushing all the hot air out of your attic, and you can actually keep your home pretty cool throughout most of the spring and fall months, and you can actually shorten the season of when you're actually running your AC. And then the fourth thing that I'm gonna say is maybe considering calling your utility company and seeing if they have any kind of time of use billing options. Sometimes if you're at work or you don't work from home, these time of use billing options can be really effective for families who maybe run their major appliances during the off-peak hours to save you money. Now, this is gonna be one of those things that you definitely need to prepare for, especially if you're making the move to the greater Sacramento area. But like I said at the beginning of this section, the one unicorn, if you are considering making the move to Sacramento, is going to be the city of Roseville or Roseville Electric. The city of Roseville and Roseville Electric is going to be one of the main reasons why Lauren and I love living in Roseville. Now, the cool thing about city of Roseville is they have tier pricing. So I believe for their first 500 kilowatt kilowatt hours, it's right around 10.5 to 11 cents. And then everything north of 500 kilowatt hours is going to be locked in at 15 cents. This is going to be one of the cheapest tiered utility rates that you can experience in all of the greater Sacramento metro. So definitely when you're considering where you should move, thinking about, you know, parts of Sacramento County versus Placer County or El Dorado County or other parts of Northern California, City of Roseville is going to be that special unicorn. The other thing that I really love about City of Roseville is they have their water, sewer, garbage, and electricity all rolled into one bill. So it's nice. You can run your electricity a little bit more freely and not fear the high utility bills in the summertime while running your AC. Now, the next thing that I want to cover on this video is going to be internet. Fast, reliable internet is definitely a non-negotiable, especially if you work from home. Now, I know a lot of you guys who reach out to us have the opportunity to work remote, which is why you guys are considering making the move to Sacramento, because it can be a little bit more affordable. Now, I did make the mistake years ago and I went with Xfinity Comcast, and let me tell you, it was hot garbage. Consistent outages, slow speeds, and the customer service was a nightmare. You can never get anybody on the phone, and then if you go into one of the Xfinity stores locally, they treat you like some peasant. So one of my favorite internet companies in the entire Sacramento area is going to be the AT&T Fiber. This is going to be a game changer. You can get high-speed fiber internet from anywhere between $85 to $110 a month. Usually they have very little to no outages or zero outages, no contracts. Now, they're not going to be available in every single area, but if they are and you can get fiber or you can get something other than Xfinity Comcast, consider it, because it's going to be 100% worth it if you're working from home. Now, the next and one of the biggest hidden costs of living in Sacramento is going to be homeowners insurance. Over the past few years, homeowners insurance rates have skyrocketed. Many companies have pulled out of California due to some of the wildfires that we've had in Paradise, and especially the most recent ones down in Southern California. Now, over the last 5 years, we have seen insurance rates double, and even in some areas that are up in the foothills, we've seen them triple. Now, a couple of things that you want to consider are going to be flood insurance, and it's going to be fire insurance. Now, at the time of recording this video, flood insurance and fire insurance are not going to be required for most of the greater Sacramento area, but there are going to be some places like Natomas and West Sacramento that's going to be down by the river that might require some flood insurance. And then definitely if you start peeking into some of the foothills, Auburn, Placerville, anywhere that starts creeping east past Folsom, El Dorado Hills, or past Penryn and Newcastle on the 80 freeway, you might be required to have an additional California FAIR plan and or be required to do certain things throughout the years to maintain a defensible space around your property to help protect against wildfires. Now, here's what happened to my personal insurance bill. So when we first moved into our house in 2020, the homeowner's insurance bill was somewhere around $700 to $750 per year. Then in 2022, after we started to kind of see the effects of the Paradise Fire, it jumped up to $900 per year. 2023, it jumped up to $1,100 per year. And now in 2024, what we're seeing between a lot of our clients is insurance premiums being anywhere between $15,000 to $3,000 per year, depending on the house. And the worst part is they overvalued the home's value for insurance purposes, meaning that you're paying for coverage on a home value that's way higher than what it's really worth. Now, here's a couple of ways that you can save on home insurance. So one thing that I always suggest is you can always bundle your home and auto insurance. Now, depending on who you use, the last couple of times when I was shopping around locally, AAA was really competitive for homeowners insurance, but they were not so competitive for their auto insurance. So you might be able to bundle some of your home and auto, but sometimes I would still suggest shopping around and getting the best rate for your auto and getting the best rate for your homeowners insurance. Now, the other thing that I would suggest, and this is where we found some of the cheapest insurance, is when you're purchasing your home in California, let's see if the escrow company has an affiliate insurance company that might offer you a lower premium. So after doing all the shopping and comparison and getting frustrated seeing insurance prices increase, what I ended up doing was actually getting an insurance quote through the escrow company that we were using for our home purchase, and they ended up being the cheapest out of everybody that I was searching. So that can definitely help you out when you're going through the home purchase process. Now, the third thing that I would suggest doing if you can afford it is always increasing your deductible. So sometimes between $1,000 and a $2,500 deductible, you can see a significant decrease, and then between a $2,500 deductible and a $5,000 deductible, you can see an even more of a decrease. So there's definitely some things that you can can do. Obviously, you have to be able to afford the deductible, but that's always one thing that I would suggest. Now, the fourth thing that I would recommend doing to help lower your insurance costs would also be looking into getting an alarm and or smoke, fire, and burglary detection. Sometimes insurance companies will also give discounts if you have an alarm installed on your home. There's a lot of self-install alarm companies that you can look at. Wise was one of the ones that we did, and it was one of the cheapest ones that you could get. It was like $99 a year, and it was saving us well over that in annual insurance. Now, one of the last two things that you can do is you can always compare your rates annually, making sure that you're still being as competitive as possible. And then the last thing that I'll leave you with, and this is not always a practical situation for people, but consider purchasing new construction. Similar to the escrow companies, a lot of these builders will also have in-house or affiliated insurance companies, but they can be uber affordable when it comes to your homeowner's insurance. We've even seen some of these new construction builders up in the foothills, even in some of these places where you expect to have higher fire insurance. These new construction companies were a little bit more affordable than I was anticipating. So this is where I'm going to take a quick pause and remind you guys that Lauren and I are licensed real estate agents in the state of California, which means that as much as we love making these videos about relocating and moving to the greater Sacramento metro area, we actually love helping you more with all of your real estate needs. So that phone number is going to be popping up. Go ahead, pause the video, take a screenshot, or scan the QR code that follows shortly afterwards and book that one-on-one discovery call so we can help figure out what areas you guys are thinking about, what areas are going to be the best fit for you, your family, and your lifestyle dynamic when you guys make the move or relocate here to the greater Sacramento metro area. So that phone number is popping up. We are the ones that answer every phone call, email, and text message, and we absolutely love connecting with you guys and getting to know your story and figuring out what's going to be the best pathway moving forward for you guys moving to the Sacramento area, and heck, maybe not make it such a pain in the butt. Now, jumping into the next category, we're going to be talking about property taxes, and this is where California really starts to get you. Now, in the greater Sacramento metro area, the average tax rate is going to be about 1.1% of your home's purchased value. So in California, it's a little bit different. It's always based off of your purchase price and not necessarily based off of your assessed value. Now, we know a lot of you guys really love those new construction areas. So one of the things to keep in mind is some of those new construction areas can have Melrose taxes that can definitely add up. Heck, a lot of homes built post 2005 can actually have Melrose taxes. So definitely when you're thinking about it, Melrose taxes can add up to thousands of dollars per year. So special assessments like Melrose can fund future schools, fire services, police services, infrastructure, streets, street lights, all those different things. But it's just one of those things to keep in mind, right? So for an example, a $600,000 home can have an average estimated property taxes of around $6,600 per year in property taxes. Now keep in mind, if you have Melrose on your property, some of these properties can be anywhere from $250 a month up to $450 a month, which can jump your property tax rate from $9,000 to $12,000 per year. So definitely before you buy, we always want to make sure that we're checking the tax rate, we're checking the areas, because this can definitely vary neighborhood to neighborhood, and it can significantly impact your mortgage and your purchasing power. All right, so sticking in the same gear, now we're going to talk about housing costs in Sacramento. Home prices here have definitely risen significantly over the years, but it's still a lot cheaper depending on where you're coming from, especially if you're moving here from the Bay Area or Southern California. Now, you might be a little sticker shocked if you're coming from out of state, but Sacramento is still going to be the best bang for your buck, and it's still going to be a bargain. Now, median home prices in the Sacramento area can be anywhere between $550,000 to $650,000 for a home, but that's definitely going to vary depending on the neighborhood, the school district, and what you're looking for. And then new construction homes in the greater Sacramento metro can range anywhere from $600,000 all the way up to $1.5 million. Now, again, some of these new construction neighborhoods are going to be your traditional tract homes and your entry-level homes, but you're also going to have some luxury homes, and you're going to have some really awesome options if you're wanting to spend for your dream home. Now, keep in mind, you will have some luxury neighborhoods or communities throughout the greater Sacramento area like East Sacramento, Sierra Oaks, or even Granite Bay. And those cities can have a much higher entry point to get into those neighborhoods. So you may be sacrificing certain things to get into a home, but some of those areas can start off in the low to mid 900s, and they can go well above that for a well-maintained home. Now, if you're not thinking about purchasing right away, but you want to rent at first to get a kind of a feel for the area, here are some stats and some numbers that you can kind of expect. So for a 1-bedroom apartment, those are going to range anywhere from $1,600 a month to $2,200 a month, depending on the area. A 2-bedroom apartment, it's going to be a little bit higher than that, $2,200 a month up to $3,000 a month. And then a single family home rental is going to be somewhere between $2,500 a month and can go all the way up to $4,000 a month, especially in some of those high demand areas or those higher rated school district areas. Now, when you're evaluating where to live, keep in mind that neighborhoods with lower home prices tend to have longer commutes, or they can have a slightly lower rated school district. Now, some of the best value areas that we always love touching on with you guys is going to be parts of Natomas, Elk Grove, Roseville, Rancho Cordova. You can find really affordable homes here. You can still have killer school districts and a ton of local amenities close by. Now, if you're looking for some of the top rated school districts and newer homes, you can also consider areas like Folsom, Granite Bay, Rockland, and El Dorado Hills. And those tend to also be really good options for new constructions. But here's the kicker I want to remind you guys: housing costs don't always stop at your mortgage and your rent. You also can potentially have HOA fees. You're going to have some higher property taxes, especially that Melrose that we just talked about in some of those new construction areas or anything built kind of post 2005. And you're going to be having maintenance costs that can add up to a couple of $100s a month if you're not prepared. Now, keep in mind, if you are considering purchasing a home in the greater Sacramento metro, whether it be new construction or resale, that phone number is going to be popping up. Lauren and I absolutely love connecting with you guys when you guys reach out to us. So give us a phone call, shoot us a text, or send us that email, and we'll get you scheduled for your one-on-one discovery call where we can talk about all the areas, we can talk about the new construction, we can talk about the resales, and we can really figure out and hone in what's going to be the best plan. Remember, 95% of figuring out the right area is a lot of process of elimination. There's going to be a lot of areas in the Sacramento metro that are not going to be a good fit for you guys, but there is going to be that 1 or 2 or maybe even 3 areas that are going to be absolutely killer. So go ahead and make sure you guys reach out to us or scan that QR code to book your one-on-one appointment. Now, the next category that we're going to touch on is going to be water and utilities. Now, we already touched on your power bill at the beginning of this video, and remember, that's going to be kind of crazy. Your water, your garbage, and your sewer is all going to range depending on the different cities that you choose or you live in, but a typical family water bill runs anywhere between about $80 to $150 a month. Now, a couple of other things to consider: if your home has a big yard or if you have a pool, your water bills are going to be slightly higher, especially those of you guys who are trying to do those homesteads. Now, another thing that we want to touch on is that if your home has an older water heater, you might actually pay slightly more than $150 just because those water heaters tend to not be as efficient. Now, another thing that I wanted to touch on that I didn't cover in the power bill section is that a lot of these utility companies actually have rebates. Now, I know a lot of these utility companies are actually pushing these new electric water heaters. Sometimes these electric water heaters can cost $200 to $2,500 a month, and some of these utility companies are giving rebates for $200 or $2,500 a month. So you always want to check with your local utility company, because sometimes when you do some of these home improvement projects throughout your home, a lot of times they're actually incentivizing you guys to use Energy Star rated efficient products. So that's always one of those things that we always touch on, especially with the water heaters now. People are switching over, and even if you've got to replace an AC system, we're seeing a lot of HVAC companies give a lot of really killer rebates for installing the AC heat pump combos. So keep that in mind. You can always get some pretty killer rebates. You just have to make sure that you're looking for those. Now, my favorite section of the video is always talking about food and food costs. So Sacramento has got some killer food. We are known as the farm to fork capital of the country, which means that you can get fresh, locally grown food, but it doesn't always come cheap. So here's one of the things that you can expect to spend on groceries. A grocery budget for one person is going to be somewhere between $400 to $600 per month, depending on what you're spending on. A family of 4 is going to cost you somewhere between $1,000 to $1,500 a month. Sometimes for a family of 5 like us, we range somewhere between $1,300 and $1,500 a month. Cost of eggs on average can be $4 to $6 per dozen, but with this egg shortage that we've been having lately, Lauren did see some eggs that were $9 for 12 eggs. So I'm getting ready to buy me some chickens. I'm getting ready to start me that little homestead just so I can not have to spend $9 for 12 eggs. A gallon of milk can be anywhere from $5 to $7, and chicken breast can be anywhere from $3.50 to $6 per pound. Now, if you like eating out, Sacramento has some incredible locally owned restaurants, but dining does add up fast. A casual meal for one, it'll probably cost you somewhere between $15 and $25. A sit-down restaurant is going to be somewhere between $20 to $40 a person, and then a nice dinner with some drinks, that's probably going to cost you about $75 per person. So if you want to save some money on food, here's some local tips that I always give people who are relocating to the area. One of the coolest things that you can do is going to be shop at local farmers markets. You're going to find better quality food there, and sometimes it's actually going to be cheaper than what you can get in the store. You can always buy in bulk at Costco or Sam's Club. Meat, dairy, and dry goods do cost less. I will say, after I lost my crap about the eggs, we did go over to Costco and they were still selling 24 eggs for about $7. So it definitely averages out if you can shop at Costco. And then the last thing that I will say is meal prep at home as much as possible. Sacramento does have some great takeout options, but it can be expensive. So if you're moving here to the greater Sacramento metro, depending on what your lifestyle is, plan to budget around $500 to about $1,000 a month for food, depending on your lifestyle. Now, another one of the hidden costs in California, specifically Sacramento, is going to be your gasoline and your commuting. Public transportation is extremely limited in Sacramento. You're definitely going to need a car. It is a very sprawling suburb with not a ton of great options for public transportation. So, you know, you're going to be needing your car to go to the grocery store. You're going to need your car to commute downtown if you've got to go in there for work. And a lot of the stuff that makes Sacramento really awesome, hiking up in the foothills, going to Folsom Lake, a lot of the outdoor activities do require a car. So gas prices can range anywhere from about $4.50 up to $5.50 per gallon. And then if you're still one of those Bay Area commuters that has to go back and forth to the Bay Area, but you're trying to live up here to save some money, you can expect to spend anywhere between $300 to $500 a month on gas and tolls. Now, the other thing that we want to touch on, and we touched on insurance a little bit earlier, but car insurance is going to be a little bit higher in California than the national average. But bottom line, if you're moving to Sacramento, you're going to need a car. You're most likely going to need car insurance. So expect to drive a lot and expect to pay a little bit more on your transportation costs. Now, just to recap a little bit, your power bills can be high, but we can cut some costs with some smart strategies, or we can specifically choose to live in certain areas where we know some of those utility bills are going to be a little bit less, like in the SMUD area or in city of Roseville. Now, fiber internet is going to be your best choice. Go ahead, skip Xfinity if you can, and go with AT&T. It's going to be your best option. Now, home insurance costs are climbing, so we want to make sure that we're doing our due diligence and getting those quotes ahead of time while you're purchasing or looking for those homes. We want to make sure that if you're not very comfortable living in a potential wildfire zone, that we avoid stuff that's going to be up towards those foothills like Auburn, Meadow Vista, or Placerville, or Shingle Springs. And then property taxes can vary. So we want to make sure that we're watching out for those Mellorews. We're having those conversations about new construction. We're having those conversations about homes that have been built kind of post that 2005, 2010 era. And then gas and commuting are going to add up fast. So that's definitely something that we want to factor into your budget. So when we hop on that Zoom call, we're going to talk about 3 or 4 different touch points. We're going to talk about job relocation, where are you guys moving to, where you might be working at, and what makes the most sense for you guys to shorten some of your gas expenditure and your commuting time in your car. Second, we're also going to touch on school districts. That always seems to be a common theme with a lot of you guys who reach out to us from the channel. A lot of you guys are families who are relocating to the area, and school districts or highly rated school districts are very important. The third thing that we're going to touch on is going to be all the different hobbies and activities that you guys like to do as a family. Some of you guys like to go skiing up at Lake Tahoe. Some of you guys like to go hiking up in the foothills. Some of you guys like to go down to the Bay Area, or you guys like to head over to the ocean. And some of the areas in the Sacramento metro can be better or worse depending on your hobbies and activities. And lastly, and surprisingly enough, it's going to be the home criteria, and it's going to be your needs, wants, your must-haves, and your deal breakers, right? What do you have to have, and what are you not willing to sacrifice? So now that you know the real cost of living in Sacramento, what's next? So if you're thinking about making the move here, Lauren and I specialize in helping people find the right home, find the right neighborhood at the right price. So that phone number is going to be popping up. We are the ones that answer every phone call, email, and text message, and we absolutely love when you guys go ahead and reach out to us. So pause the video, take a screenshot of that phone number, or better yet, book your one-on-one Zoom call at the QR code right after this. We'll go over neighborhoods, we'll go over some of the hidden costs, and we're going to help you plan out your move. Now, if you have any specific questions about making the move to Sacramento, go ahead and comment below with any questions about living in Sacramento, and we'll make sure that we answer them in a future video.